Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hey everyone, I know I said I was going to do a bi-weekly release schedule, but surprise, I can still talk after oral surgery. So those of you who enjoy my reviews, I have a ton of stuff for you spaced between my planned releases. I have the Rifleman Premium Mini, the Nova Cat Premium Mini, and today's subject, the 21st Centauri Lancers Force Pack. Before we hop into the Force Pack, I wanted to let you know that today's video is sponsored by FortressMiniaturesandGames.com. Fortress has just about anything you might need for BattleTech, from miniatures, maps for Classic, terrain for Alpha Strike, rulebooks, and even a section of used out-of-print products if you are a completionist and want to get your hands on some older source books. So check out FortressMiniaturesandGames.com for all your BattleTech needs. Obligatory ad spot for my favorite online store over. Let's look at the 21st Centauri Lancers Command Lance. First of all, who are the Lancers? The Lancers are a well-known mercenary unit in the Inner Sphere and have a history going back to 2785 when they were part of the Capellan Confederation Armed Forces. The Capellans were having some trouble with getting pay to the troops, and the Lancers took matters into their own hands by tactically acquiring several dropships as well as a jump ship that was in system and fled the Confederation, as they had decided the best answer to a back pay issue was to commit grand theft spacecraft. After absconding with a small flotilla of dropships, enough to support their entire unit, they would seek service with every great house except the Confederation itself for obvious reasons. The unit would become well known throughout the Inner Sphere, gaining a level of notoriety comparable to the Eridani Light Horse and Wolf's Dragoons by the Third Succession War. The unit would have some tribulations with the Word of Blake, blackmailing them into sitting silent while the Blakeists used their iconography as part of a false flag attack against Terra in 3057 and 58. After this, they would have employment by Comstar and even face the Word of Blake's wrath when the Blakeists decided that things like mass drivers, nuclear arms, and chemical weapons were just another Tuesday. The Lancers have been able to survive through to the present day, finding service with the newly formed Tamar Pact in the hinterlands and rebuilding themselves in a way that they haven't been able to until now, and even have an independent company called the 21st Centauri Peregrine Lancers, and I think this box reflects that unit the most of all. The Force Pack comes with a lance of 4 mechs, which includes 2 resculpts, a Shadow Cat and a Stalker, with 2 new sculpts, the Shockwave and the Jade Hawk. I want to cover the resculpts first and then talk about the 2 new mechs we get in here. And quite frankly, the resculpts are interesting variants that may as well be new anyway. We start our journey through the Force Pack with the Shadow Cat. This is a mech primarily known for its service with the Smoke Jaguars and Nova Cats, but has since found its way into the hands of all the clans and quite a few Inner Sphere forces since both of those clans went extinct. I don't count the Fidelis turned Jags on Terra, as that was one of the worst pieces of writing and self-indulgence ever. Anyway, the Shadow Cat we get here seems to reflect the Shadow Cat Eye, as none of the other variants I can find seem to reflect the weapons loadout that we get with the 2 lasers in each arm and the SRM-6 launcher in each torso. From the front, the Shadow Cat is very clean, with a slight mold line along the front of the upper right leg. Otherwise, most of the mold lines have been hidden pretty well along corners of the lower legs. There is a mold line on the top of each arm that you can feel but not see, with typical burring on the ends of the barrels and a clip point along the center line bottom of each arm with a slightly more visible mold line. Also, I don't know how to explain it, but where the upper and lower legs meet seems a bit messy to me. It isn't something I can point out in particular, but it is more like something that should be super sharp, but it isn't quite there. From the mech's left side, everything looks really clean, and I don't have anything to say about it. As we get to the rear, you can see a mold line running down the inside edge of the outer calf of the mech. and many of the rear details just feel a little soft for my tastes, but they are definitely discernible. As we go to the right side, we're looking good again, and I can make out a mold line on the upper rear of the right foot. Overall, I love the look of the Shadow Cat we have here. And if any of you are familiar with MechWarrior 4, the way it is posed, the loadout, everything just screams opening scene with the hangar bay. Also, with the release of machines like the Argus and Thanatos recently, I think someone at Catalyst is a really big fan of the two MechWarrior 4 games as much as I am. And if they are, we just need that awesome Vulture 3 in plastic now, as we have the rest of Sigma Lance, the Raven and Cougar that didn't make it out of the hangar, and now the Shadow Cat that looks like it just walked right out of the game. As far as cards, we get the Shadow Cat Prime to start. It's a battle mech size 2 with a TMM of 3 and movement of 16 with 12 jump. It is a striker and comes in at 41 points. The Shadow Cat Prime does 3 damage at short and medium ranges with 2 at long and has no overheat value. It has armor of 4 and structure of 2 and has specials of Case, Jump Weak 1, Omni, Probe, and Recon. The other side has the Shadow Cat T, which is a battle mech size 2 with a TMM of 3 and movement of 16 and 12 jump. It is a 46 point scout and does 4 damage at short and medium ranges with 2 at long and no overheat. It has armor of 4 and structure of 2 with specials of Case, Jump Weak 1, Omni, Probe, and Recon. The standard Shadow Cat we're all familiar with, and it's a decent if lightly armored clan harasser. The T, on the other hand, is one of the most terrifying scouts I have ever seen. I mean, a 4 damage scout? Like, ow. Oddly, the Force Pack doesn't include for the eye configuration, and so I am going to correct that here. The Shadow Cat Eye is a battle mech size 2 with a TMM of 3 and moves 16 inches with a 12 jump. The Eye is a striker that comes in at 43 points and does 4 damage at short and medium with no long range and no overheat. 3 overheat. It has 4 armor and 2 structure with specials of Case, Omni, and Jump Weak 1. It feels like a much more attack-oriented version of the T in Alpha Strike, with the ability to give an enemy a 3 damage surprise and jump away into cover to try to cool down to pull it off again, or as a parting shot to try to take out an enemy with it. Next up, we have the Stalker. The mini that we have here is one of the more direct fire versions of the mech, doing away with the side torso mounted missiles for a pair of PPCs and a heavy Gauss rifle. So starting from the front, it is actually pretty clean, and you can see a mold line down the center line of each leg that mostly goes over flat surfaces, as well as a mold line on the top of the torso, which does go over a few details and might be kind of hard to clean up as well. You can see a mold line on the top of each arm along the outside third of the arm, which isn't very pronounced, and you can't really see the bottoms of the arms by leaning it back from the front. Something I did want to point out, though, which many of you may have already noticed, is a difference between the left and right legs. The mech's right leg has a split in the second panel down that it doesn't have on the left leg. At first, I thought it wasn't supposed to have the split, and thought that it was an error. It turns out that the second panel down on the left leg being solid is the error after looking at some pictures of the Stalker that came out in the Clan Invasion Force Packs. So this means that you'll have to cut out that split channel on that leg if you want to be correct, instead of simply cleaning up the mold line there. Going to the mech's left, we can see a bit of a lip on the front of the left arm. It is on the front edge and is on 2 flat areas that should be easy to clean up, and was likely there, or where the mold line went to after it was on the top and bottom of the arms, to not obscure the front details. From the rear, the mech is pretty good and decently detailed. There's a good amount of detail, though not as crisp as the front and sides, and I don't see any visible mold lines on the rear, which is awesome. Going to the right side of the mech, it looks good, and there isn't the same lip on the outside of the right arm as there is on the left. I suspect the mold line is on the inside instead of outside, which is totally reasonable, and I wish it had been done that way on both arms. I haven't reviewed the Stalker before, though I have painted quite a few. The Stalker is already an impressive and awesome machine. This iteration of it feels a bit more streamlined without the missile doors on each arm, and looks really good. I like the look of the PPCs in the arms, and even with the weird mold line on the top of the torso, I think Catalyst has done a great job. Now, let's take a look at the Stalker's Alpha Strike card. We're going to begin with the variant the Mini represents, the STK-8S Stalker. The 8S Stalker is a battle mech size 4 with a TMM of 1 and movement of 6 inches. It's a juggernaut and comes in at 42 points. For damage, the 8S can do 4 at short, 5 at medium, and 3 at long with 2 overheat. The mech has 7 armor and 5 structure with no special abilities. As far as assault mechs go, the Stalker, or at least this one, feels more like, well, a big pocket heavy. It is weird in the fact that it's an assault mech, but doesn't really have the expected armor of an assault mech when compared to other ones. Also, though it is good to take into account that with it being on the lighter end, of the assault mechs there. The lack of case is something that's quite noticeable, especially as the design first showed up in the FedCom Civil War, as it carries a massive heavy Gauss rifle in that right torso, which is a lot of crits that can go boom. The other side of the card is the STK-7C3BS. I'm going to say that as few times as possible. The 7C3BS is a battle mech size 4 with a TMM of 1 and can move 6 inches. It is also a juggernaut and comes in an even 50 points. It does 5 damage at short and medium ranges, 3 at long, and has an overheat of 1. The mech has 7 armor and 7 structure with specials of C3 Boosted Slave System, Case 2, Indirect Fire 1, and Mech Headquarters 2, or Mobile Headquarters 2. I can never get that right. This variant of the Stalker addresses many of the things I brought up with the 8S. It has as much health as many more modern heavy mechs, and is protected from ammunition explosions by the Case 2 system that it has. While you do find yourself paying for that C3 system if you aren't using it, I think this mech at 50 points is a pretty good bargain as it is a big, lumbering zombie on the tabletop. Okay, we're halfway through this video, and I hope you're enjoying it so far. If you are, you can support the channel by hitting like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to get updates on new videos. If you want to support Unicorn Company further, you can go to patreon.com/Unicorn Company and become a patron or become a channel member. Patrons get ad-free early uploads of the videos on that platform, and channel members will get videos early, though I have a feeling that YouTube's still going to stick ads in it anyway. Yay, YouTube, right? Now, we're going to take a look at the second 2 mechs in the Force Pack. The first of these is going to be the Shockwave. The Shockwave is a design with its design roots in MechWarrior Dark Age, and first premiered for Classic in Technical Readout 3085. The mini we get can represent either the 2F or 4G model, as the loadouts only swap out the laser in the torso for a different type of laser of the same class. I mean, then again, BattleTech really doesn't care as long as it's the same chassis. Anyway, I need to keep going. Now, much like the Savior in the 3rd Star League Battle Group Force Pack, Lyra and Catalyst have done a wonderful job on this one. From the front of the miniature, the Shockwave has only one mold line that I can really see from this angle, and that would be on the mech's right side front corner of the hip assembly. You can feel the mold lines on the upper outside corners of the arms and on the front of the mech's knuckles. They aren't visible though, and have been used to make the mini have like nice crisp corners, which the Dark Age mechs, many of them had, especially the early ones. The details on the front of the mech are really well done, although if you lean it forward, the last third of the rotary autocannon barrels, the part towards you after that ring, they seem a bit soft from looking at them at the top, and I'm sure this is going to be visible from the sides as well, so I'm probably not even going to mention it because, it's just something you're going to see the whole way through. Going to the left side, everything is once again really clean and well done, and I'm not seeing any clip points under the arm of the mech, which is surprising. From the rear, everything is once again really well detailed, and the only hint of a mold line I am seeing is on the inside rear edge of the knee on the part facing inward, and even that is only a few millimeters long and should actually be really easy to clean up before you paint it. The right side is once again really well done, and I like the effort that they put into hiding the mold lines. I can just barely see that the front outside upper arm has the mold line as a way to both hide it and give the mech a nice sharp corner right there. There is a bit of clipping on the right shoulder armor into the ammunition feed just below the rotary autocannon. It doesn't look like the shoulder armor moves with the arms though from how they're positioned, so this may not be clipping so much as how the arms and shoulder armor are designed for the mech. I think the miniature itself is done very well. I might even say it's spectacular, and I feel like it's one of the best Catalyst has done. As for the Alpha Strike card, the first side comes with the SKW-2F Shockwave. It's a battle mech size 2 with a TMM of 2 and movement of 10 inches. The 2F is a skirmisher and comes in at 35 points. The 2F does 3 damage at short range with 4 at medium and 2 at long with no overheat value. It does have armor of 5 and structure of 2 with a special of indirect fire 1. The 2F is a reasonably priced and decent trooper mech, with the movement profile and damage of many classic mechs like the Shadow Hawk, Wolverine, and Griffin. The other side of the card is the 6H variant of the Shockwave. This is a battle mech size 2 with a TMM of 2 and movement of 10 inches, and this variant is a sniper. It does 3 damage at all ranges and has no overheat value. It carries 5 armor and 2 structure with specials of case and indirect fire 1. While case isn't really useful in competitive play, it would obviously be useful in campaign play to help make the mech salvageable if lost to an ammunition explosion, as if the mech takes a point of damage causing the ammo explosion, it takes an additional point with case. But it should be easier to salvage if I remember the rules right for campaigns. I do like the 3 damage at every range, and once again, it reminds me of many of the classic trooper mechs out there. The final mech we are looking at today is the Jade Hawk. This is another mech born of the Dark Age and came out as part of the Age of Destruction expansion. The miniature that we have is capable of representing the one sold to the Inner Sphere by the Sea Foxes and produced by Dynamic Ordnance and Ammunition, or the standard Clan Jade Hawk, or the Jade Hawk 3. I want to begin by looking at the technical aspects of the miniature and then talk about the aesthetics. The Jade Hawk can be mounted in a jumping or walking pose and comes with a jump jet plume as well as a tactical rock for its walking position. In order to make the miniature paintable and probably for ease of packaging, the mech's wings come as separate pieces, which will allow you to paint details that would be covered up by them and paint them separately, then just attach them to the miniature. The wings are the only part I am looking at for mold lines right here, and they were done in a way where the mold lines are on the edges so as to not interfere or put anything over the details on the wings. Now, looking at the miniature itself, from the front we get a super clean miniature. Most of the mold lines have been hidden in corners and other places very well where you can't see any of them, or they are made to look like some of the few hard edges, such as the one on the claws, hands, and the feet. There is a barely visible mold line on the upper arms along their midline, but otherwise nothing else that I can see from the front of the mech. From the mech's left side, there's only one mold line that is visible, which is on the underarm housing for the missile launcher and jump jet. Otherwise, it is really well done and very detailed. From the rear, everything looks really good with a lot of detail on the miniature, and you can see the jump jet ports on the torso where the plume connects to the back and puts it in a jumping pose, as well as the 2 pegs which go into the back of the mech. There's also what looks like a clip point on the mech's left rear jump jet. Finally, getting over to the right side of the mech, everything is once again incredibly clean, with the only thing I can see is a mold line on the housing for the underarm missile launcher and jump jet assembly again. The mold lines on this, where the few ones that exist are, look to be very easy to clean. The area inside the mech's right claw is filled in. I'm not too sure how thick it is, but it doesn't look too thick, and some enterprising individuals may decide to cut through this part and give it an open hand, just to have it open or to clutch a inner sphere battle armor or elemental, depending on which faction you prefer to make it. Once assembled, the Jade Hawk is a stunning miniature and is one of the best looking miniatures in this box. As far as the mech in the two different poses, the Jade Hawk doesn't really look good in the walking pose, as both feet are partially closed, so unless someone wants to do a lot of work to repose the feet, it has to have its tactical rock to be standing on the base. In its jumping pose, the Jade Hawk looks its most natural, and this is the first one I really like in its jumping pose, so I'll definitely be building it that way. And those of you who know me will know my bias against the jumping mechs. At least the ones that are posed that way. I like mechs that can jump. Anyway, off topic again. Let's keep going. I think Catalyst has once again done a wonderful job with this miniature. Now, let's take a look at the cards for the Jade Hawk here. The first one we'll take a look at is the Inner Sphere version, the JHK-03 Jade Hawk. This is a battle mech size 3 with a TMM of 2 and movement of 12 with 8 jump. It's a skirmisher with a cost of 47 points. The 03 Jade Hawk is capable of 5 damage at short and medium ranges with no damage at long and no overheat value. For protection, it has 7 armor and 4 structure with specials of Case, Jump Weak 1, Melee, SRM 2-2 nil, and Triple Strength Myomer. The other side of the card is the Jade Hawk Battle Mech from the Clans. It's a battle mech size 3 with a TMM of 2 and movement of 12 jump. It's a skirmisher that comes in at 59 points. This version of the mech can do 7 at short and medium ranges with no long range or overheat value, and has armor of 8 and structure of 4 with specials of Case, Light Probe, and Recon. So I like the fact that we get 2 different interpretations of the mech, one through the lens of the Inner Sphere and one through the lens of the Clans. The Inner Sphere, through the use of TSM and Melee, have turned the Jade Hawk into a close-range monster with a good punch, while the Clans have turned it into something of a high-maneuver skirmisher that concentrates more on overall firepower and maneuvering with its jump jets to dictate the range and hit with all of its damage at medium to short ranges as an opponent closes. Now the question here for most players is how many points do they have to use for this mech if they're going to use it? The 14-point jump is drastic in points and lets you dump a lot of damage into a target, but it also invests a lot of points into the mech itself. Whereas the 03 model, you can actually run with a 3-skill pilot and have it still be less points than the Clan version, which might actually give you an edge, as that Jade Hawk is going to be at its best on the ground, where it can actually use that skill 3 to shoot at skill 3. The Clan version is at its best when moving through the air, and because of this, it's going to do better when it's shooting, or when it's moving so much, and it's going to have that extra modifier to its ability to shoot. So, what are my thoughts on the 21st Centauri Lancers Force Pack? Well, first of all, it's a Barnes & Noble exclusive, at least for a little while. And I know this is done as a partnership with a major retailer to get it out to possible new audiences for Catalyst, and probably in the hope that regular and longtime BattleTech fans, such as myself, will pick up other products if they come in the store for it. All that being said, I do understand that Barnes & Noble doesn't ship to Europe. As far as the Force Pack itself, it runs $34.99 on Barnes & Noble's website. Each miniature in the Force Pack runs $8.75 US because of this. This does put them higher, though there are definitely reasons which even Catalyst doesn't have any control over for these kinds of price increases. The miniatures overall are pretty well done, even with the issue of the Stalker's leg armor. I really like the 2 new mechs and the variants. I do wish that there was 1 resculpt and 3 new mechs, but I'm still happy with what we got here, and I think it'll appeal to a number of fans, as the Shockwave may appeal to Free Worlds League fans. The Shadow Cat can appeal to any clan fans and anyone who has nostalgia for MechWarrior 4, while the Stalker is a classic Intersphere mech and a Steiner variant, while the Jade Hawk I'm sure will appeal to Clan Jade Falcon fans out there. I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank all of my patrons, channel members, and my sponsor for supporting me. All of you make this possible, and I really enjoy being able to do these videos for you. So anyway, that's it for tonight. Y'all have a good one, and until next time, stay safe out there, Mech Warriors. I want to thank all of our patrons, channel members, and our sponsor for supporting the channel. Our patrons, first we have Captain Sarah, then our lieutenants Boy in a Box and Nathan. We then have our sergeants BZ Archer, Faz, and Steven. Then our cadets Dominic, NB Kaiju, Housemaster Poding, Jamie, and Scott. Then we have our wonderful channel member Miss J. And finally, our sponsor and Mercenary Review and Bonding Commission liaison, Fortress Miniatures and Games.